Well, thank you so much, Senator Padilla, and good morning to all three of our nominees. Thank you, thank your families for your willingness to serve. Thank you for your expertise and your patriotism. I want to start with a question to you, Mr. Inglis. I'd like to follow up on a discussion we had in our prior meeting. It's clear that we have to work together to strengthen public-private cybersecurity information sharing, especially in light of the recent SolarWinds, Microsoft Exchange, and Colonial Pipeline attacks. In your view, what are the biggest barriers inhibiting effective cybersecurity information sharing in both directions between the private and public sector? And if confirmed, are there changes to the current information sharing framework that you'd recommend?
Senator, thank you for the question, and thank you especially for the conversation we had, which I found quite enriching to my own understanding of some of these challenges. With respect to information sharing, I think that that is a very important dimension of public-private collaboration. But often that fails because that's all we do is to share information. We don't share perspectives. We don't share what perhaps might be a hunch or an insight on one side of an otherwise stovepiped organization to another. And therefore not feeling we have common cause, not sharing insight as opposed to simply information, we find that we disappoint one another. What you give me or what I give you is not as useful because I lack the context. I think, therefore, we need to create common cause. We need to lower the boundaries, share at the lowest possible level, not after we have a well-formed idea, but to put people shoulder to shoulder on floor plates where they can co-discover and co-mitigate threats on the fly. And to the extent that we do that and we provide mutual advantage, the government to the private sector and vice versa, I think you'll find that those relationships will take off and that they will then be self-sustaining and they will grow.
Well, thank you. I really look forward to working on that with you. Ms. Easterly, FBI Director Chris Wray recently indicated that the Bureau would be escalating the fight against ransomware and stated that disrupting and preventing ransomware attacks is a shared responsibility all across government agencies. However, the federal government only successfully prosecutes a small fraction of cyber criminals each year. If confirmed, how would CISA work with law enforcement agencies such as the FBI to increase costs and deterrence for cyber criminals?
Thanks for that question, Senator. I think as we heard earlier this week from the CEO of Colonial, in dealing with that incident, they reached out to the FBI, and the FBI immediately brought in CISA. I know some people look at that and say, well, the company didn't call CISA, but I actually think it's a tribute to those very strong collaborative relationships within the federal government that the FBI immediately brought in CISA. And I think those relationships have actually evolved over the past couple years, and if confirmed, I would look to strengthen them. We understand that the FBI's role is, of course, from an investigation and a pursuit perspective. CISA's role is to ensure that all the key stakeholders at the state, local, federal, non-federal, private sector have the guidance and information and resources that they need to be able to prevent such attacks. We know at the end of the day, a lot of this comes down to the basics of cyber hygiene, passwords, multi-factor authentication. And so these basics are absolutely critical to be able to get out the information that's needed so that folks know how to protect themselves.
Thank you. It's also important to note that Colonial said that it hadn't actually planned for a ransomware attack. It had planned for some other things, but not that. So we've got some work to do. Ms. Carnahan, when we met a few weeks ago, you remarked that, this is, I think, a quote from our conversation, the future of service is digital. But the COVID-19 pandemic revealed just how many federal agencies are not equipped to offer digital services due to their use of expensive, outdated technology and paper-based data systems. For Granite Staters, this meant significant delays in delivery of stimulus checks and the inability to access emergency funding to support their small businesses. How will you proactively assist agencies in achieving their IT modernization goals and, in turn, save taxpayer dollars by reducing their reliance on outdated legacy IT systems?
Yeah, that's a great question, Senator, and I enjoyed our conversation. I've got lots of thoughts about this. As you know, I come from this from a state government perspective as well, and I watched, just as all of us did, horrified that so much of the quick policy work and appropriation that was done by Congress wasn't able to get to the people that needed it because of outdated or not working technology systems. And likewise, that cyber criminals were able to take advantage of that and steal money. Bottom line, if we can't implement government policy if we can't make the damn websites work. I think that is my bottom line. We've got to get that right. And I want to ensure that we both serve people well and do that in a way that is a smart investment of money. And I will also just add that many times people think, well, if we're going to upgrade technology systems, it's going to cost a fortune and it's going to take forever. What we know is that you can incrementally improve these systems and you can do it for less money. So it really is about focusing on the value that we're giving to users and also doing that in a way that's smart for taxpayers. And I'm very interested in getting your thoughts on this and getting started.
Well, I thank you. And I think one of the reasons to do this, too, is to your point about making sure that people understand that their government can work for them. They need to be able to get the same level of service from their government that they get from the private sector digitally. So I look forward to working on this issue with you as well. Ms. Easterly, I have been particularly concerned about cyber attacks against state and local governments and entities. In your view, should the Department of Homeland Security provide more resources to state and local governments to improve their cyber posture?
As a private citizen, I don't have a good sense of the resources that are being provided right now, but I absolutely agree with you on the importance of partnering closely with state and local so that they do have the resources to protect themselves. I think the addition of a cybersecurity coordinator at the state level was an important enabler there, and if I'm confirmed, I will make that a priority to continue to develop those partnerships.
Well, thank you. Would you support creating a standalone cybersecurity grant program for state and local governments?
At this point in time, Senator, I don't know much about that, but it certainly seems to make sense. I think grants are a very important vehicle to allow state and local to have the resources that they need to defend themselves. So if confirmed, I would love to be able to learn from you more about that and to work with you on it.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I'll turn my time back, but I would look forward to a deeper conversation with both Ms. Easterly and Mr. Inglis, too, about the appropriateness of apprenticeship programs as a way to really build our cyber workforce. And I look forward to that conversation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.